You wake up and despair is the very first emotion that you feel, right? You are doing all the things, you're super successful, high achieving woman, only you wake up and the only thing that you can think about and consider is that you've checked all the boxes, you've done all the things, you've sort of hit a ceiling in your career, and you are at a place in your life you're like, I've done all these things. And now it's maybe time for something that feels like it's going to bring me back to life again. Like maybe you kind of got stuck somewhere along the way. And you've been in a corporate kind of position. At one point, it was great. Now you're like, I'm tapped out. I've seen what I can see here. I've grown as much as I can grow in this environment. And I just know that there's something different for me. And I'm not exactly sure how to get there. And maybe even wondering, like, if this is all that there is for your life, right? That is a terrible way to feel. And so, if this is you and you relate to that, then hi, my name is Jen. I'm the founder and owner of Laughing Lotus Wellness. I'm a transformational purpose coach and expert. And what I love to do, what I'm passionate about doing actually, is working with women just like you who are in those positions where they're maybe middle age, have checked all the boxes, missed out on family functions, like dedicated so much of your life to a journey and a practice and some part of a business that you felt really passionate about, only to get there and go, is this it? Right? And kind of empty and wondering if this is all that you're ever going to do in this lifetime. And so if that's you, then that's what I love to do, is help women like you get clarity around what your purpose is. There's a lot of misconception about that, which we'll chat about. There's a lot of misconception about purpose. And one of the things that we really know, right? 9 out of 10 people say, it's one of my favorite statistics ever that outlines the importance of this purpose work. 9 out of 10 people, according to Harvard Business Review, said that they would choose more meaningful work over higher paying work. So, I mean, just let that settle for a second, right? It's like literally the basis of which I built my business on, because that's exactly where people are sitting right now. And it's one of the signs about how important meaning is, which is purpose, in everything that we do, right? Particularly our careers. We spend a lot of time at a job. And I want you to feel not just successful, but successful and purposeful. My chair is sinking. And so that's really what I help women do, is get clear about where have you been? Where are you going? What are the blocks that are kind of getting in your way, right? Where do you want to go? And so it's my favorite thing to do. And so I just want to talk a little bit today. We're going to be talking about some of my favorite ideas about rewilding. So as a clinical social worker of over 20 years, I've done a lot of psychotherapy with people over the years, and now I'm doing coaching, which is just a little bit different. And so one of the things that I really love doing is working with women who are in these positions that are really feeling kind of tapped out. And they're like, God, is this it? So one, have you ever been here? Have you ever been in this place, right? I would love to know. And we want to talk today about rewilding. What does that mean? So this month, my content has been all about wild, which is really like willing yourself into that inner lawlessness. And so it's really sort of giving yourself permission to be a rebel a little bit, to remind yourself about what you're really made of and what you really want to be doing here. And so we all get kind of stuck in these grooves, right? I want you to imagine like old school records, which I probably lost half my audience, but if you're with me and you're middle aged, so you know what I'm talking about, right? So there's this record and they're created with grooves, right? We can all fall into that same notion. We just sort of get in that, like in a skip in a record where it just plays over and over and over again. We can all land in those places where it's comfortable and we sort of know it. And that's what I find a lot, is that the women that I'm working with get drawn into me because they're like ready to make a big lane change. They're like, I am just in a space. I know it's not right. I do believe somewhere inside of me, I have big impact that I want to create and leave. I'm just not sure anymore that I can do that where I'm at. And so that's what I love doing, is helping women rewild. And honestly, it was funny. I was thinking about this. I'm like, this is exactly what I do. This might have to be one of the stages of the work that I do with people, the very, very end. I call it realignment, the very last stage, but this might have to become somewhere in there because I'm really vibing it. But really what I want you to think about is, if we took an animal out of the wild, because let's say it has something that's not working. It has a broken wing or a broken leg, right? And there's all these beautiful caretakers out there. One of my loves in my life, one of my dear friends and clients is a big animal advocate. So, right. So she works and volunteers in environments where they get all kinds of animals and they bring them in and they help get them kind of fixed up, patched up and on their way. So we're re-entering a new state of being, right? That's really what today is about. It's bravely rewilding yourself into a different space and energy to show up in the way that you really want to be. So we're going to talk today about what that means. So Doing something. So to me, bravery is this: doing something in the face of uncertainty and doing it anyway, right? I'm not promised a result. And I think that's bravery of any kind. So we kind of step up, shore ourselves up, and like, well, I got to take this step. I got to say this thing. I got to have this conversation. I have to make this change, even in the face of it being really scary and not being sure about what the final resolution is going to look like. I'm going to kind of have some trust and faith. And my vlog this week talked quite a bit about that. So I'm not going to go to all the same spaces because I want you to be able to like show up here and ask questions if you have them, and conversate about this kind of notion. And so we're going to talk about what are some steps. So these are some brave rewilding steps. If you imagine that with the work that I do is really offering a space for women to come in and reconfigure how they want to be in the world. So it isn't that they didn't come in with strengths and talents and gifts and passions and all of that. They have, over time, they might kind of get covered up. And it's almost like having some part of your soul or part of the aspect of who you are not really functioning at a high level like you're meant to, right? So what we do is take that sacred time to do the work together to really get you in a space where you're ready to go out and step fully back into your soul again, and step fully back into the world in the way that you feel like you're really being called to do. And so, back in the day, this was a lot of the work that I did with people in therapy. Is you're always kind of working to help people kind of reconfigure. And I love that because it feels like waking up again. It's sort of like feeling like you got sort of like recharged, right? That's really what I want to do, is support women in recharging, giving yourself permission. So we're going to talk about what are some brave rewild steps that you can take, some ideas. So I said new businesses, new business adventures, right? So we might span out. So what you're going to hear me talk about is lane changes, right? So you hear me refer to this all the time. Lane changes are the way that we just take where we are and we go, oop, this isn't working and I need to make a shift. That's all that it means. So I love, love, love lane changes. And a lot of the women that I work with, that's what they're going to come into me to do. So I'm a middle-aged woman, and that's usually what I call in as middle-aged women who got there and went, I need to do something different. So then we get together and we work to figure out what are we going to do that's going to help you feel really vital again and really excited and bring the energy and the passion and the things that only you can bring to the world once again. And sometimes that just means we put a different hat on, we change lanes a little bit. It's like everything from a very small step to monumental change. And so I get really stoked about all of it, but the monumental ones are the ones that light my soul on fire. So how do we do this? So one of the things that I'm going to talk about today, I'm going to talk about some things that I think are going to feel off the cuff. So I want you to kind of hang with me if you can. So vulnerability. I know it sounds so funny. And Brene Brown is, of course, the queen of vulnerability. And I will never stack up against Brene's way of sharing these things. But I want you to really imagine that I think that a piece of rewilding your soul is being really, really vulnerable. And what that means is getting super raw and real about where you're really at. And as women, we can get kind of conditioned, particularly if we're in a high level and successful space, of kind of just doing the hamster wheel and like, hey, and kind of get stuck. Like I'm making money, or it's working, it's successful. And so I just stay, right? I just stay. And so I think one of the things that really we need first is vulnerability, which looks like someone just showing up and saying, this isn't for me. This isn't working for me. This isn't working. I don't feel good here. I don't feel my most vital self. I'm not excited and passionate about it. I'm sort of dead in the water on it, to be honest. That's really what I think we need to start. And I think that can be super, super scary for us. But I actually think one of the most beautiful positions to be in is vulnerability. It's really speaking your truth, which is one of the other things that's coming next, right? Is speaking honestly about where you are. Taking ownership of like, this is where I'm sitting with things. Even if I'm successful, being brave enough to sit and talk with another woman, another friend, a networking partner, maybe you've got an accountability business partner, maybe you're getting coaching. It's saying, I'm not satisfied. This is not working for me. This is not lighting me up. And so it's really about being willing to say that. It took me a long time to do this. I did not do this well. I know I struggled with it. And so it's one of the tools that I wish I had been taught, was like how to really step into that scariness of like feeling discombobulated and not connected like you want to be, and really calling that out. And so it's one of the tools that I think is really important. So new businesses, lane changes, vulnerability, being honest, right? So really honest, right? Not like the fluffy, we go to lunch, we go to brunch, and I tell you how awesome things are. I'm talking like the real God's honest. This is where I'm at. I'm feeling really stuck. I could really use something different. I'm not sure how to do that. So it's really about letting people in, right? And so there is a vulnerability around that because we can get really in a place, and I think particularly women in high level and high achieving successful women can be in places where they really feel like it's almost lonely, which I know sounds really weird because you think, oh, success and right. But sometimes I think you feel like you're in a vacuum where it's really hard to come out of that and say, like, I know it looks like I've got stuff, but I really don't feel it at all. That's a really vulnerable place. And so one of the things that I think is really crucial, and as I do coaching and as I receive coaching, one of the spaces that I think that's really powerful is getting really vulnerable, being really honest when someone is talking with us and how we convey where we're actually sitting with our business and corporate experience. Taking time to get in touch with yourself. This is going to sound so kind of cliche. So just recently, and this is coming from a personal experience just recently. So I got called to jury duty and I was like loathing it. Can I be honest? I 150,000% did not want to do jury duty. And it's not about not doing my civic duty. It's not, I'm a social worker is my background. I mean, for God's sakes, right? Okay. Like, okay. So theoretically, I get it. What stinks is as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, I'm it. I don't have a team of 6 people here working to hold up things and create while I'm not here. There's no one that does that for me. And so it is really tough to carve out 2 weeks of time, having zero idea how that's going to work and continue to run your business successfully, right? So what happened was this. It was very interesting. I took a vacation in the very beginning of May. I just made the time. I was busy. I had schedule, right, like all the things. Like had stuff, and I had to go into all my lovey people and say, "I love you guys. Namaste. Can you give me a week of vacation?" People were very gracious, and I'm like, I just really feel like I need to take some time. So I took a week off. I made myself not work, which is not easy for me. I was like, "You're not going to work." Okay, you ever done this? This was my promise to myself. You're not going to work while you're on vacation, which I know sounds dumb. If you're an entrepreneur, high level person, you know, I'm sorry, corporate America, you know what I'm talking about, right? You're going to get calls, emails, etc. Right? Okay. So I'm like, I'm not going to work. Well, then I came back. Then I had some tough decisions to make. That took the wind out of my sails. Like for a week, I was like, just energetically in a weird space, right? Struggling to kind of like, kind of can't get back into the swing of things. Well, then I had jury duty. So here's what I want to share of an insight with you. I was being told to slow down. I mean, there's no greater sign than having it stack up that way. That's like, you got to slow down. And so one of the most powerful things that you can do for yourself, honestly, is take time to step away. When I see women do this for themselves, when they get out of the grind, there's something spectacular that happens energetically that you kind of shed off the shit you don't need. And you're much more self-aware about where you're actually sitting with stuff. And so that might look like a week. It might look like 2 weeks. I just carved out a week, right? Everyone's different. Like I know, and friends, understand, I know I had jury duty coming. So I took vacation not knowing if I was also going to be out of commission for 2 weeks. But I knew it was important. If you're here, say hey, by the way. If you're here, say hey, say good morning, say what's up. I hope you're having a lunch break, whatever you're doing right now, joining me. Please say hello, ask questions if you have them. And so I just want to say that one of the lessons I took away was we have to carve out time. I am a freaking beast in my business. When I tell you, like, I can work 10 and 12 hours a day. I mean, like and this is not, and here's what's sad. That's not a badge of honor. I'm just being honest. It almost disappoints me to say it out loud to you because I also want to be a role model for how to do these things. And this is one of my kind of like the rub, if you will, of the conflict for me is like, okay, but like the doing, I feel like we're in a society that teaches us that doing is the solution to all things. Hustling. How often do we hear this? You have to hustle. It makes me want to, okay. Yeah. Okay. I get it. Hustle if you need to, and then hustle within a period of time and then take a break. And so for me, one of the biggest lunch break, yay, Deb! One of the biggest things we can do is step out. And that is really brave, right? So for me, I know that sounds like simple to somebody who might be listening to me. It is very brave for me as a solopreneur to take time and carve it out and go, well, here we are. So jury duty was every day. It was like a surprise. It was like a Jack in the Box, you know, like you didn't know what was coming. Every day you got to call in, and some days I went. One day I showed up, literally pulled in the ramp, and the guy calls me and goes, we don't need you today. Oh, sweet Jesus. I can't. So anyway, so it was the most obnoxious. And for someone who likes like schedule and had my ducks in a row. I'm super organized that way. It was literally the worst. I mean, I can't even explain it to you. But what I had to really put together, and not just by myself, I receive support and healing work. And so through all of that insight, it was like, Jen, you have to slow down. You're being taught that you can work hard and you don't have to break your neck every single day to do what you want to do. And so I have to now, right? I'm almost done with jury duty. Tomorrow's my last day. I was sweating that I wasn't going to be here today for another live because last week I had jury duty. So I was like on call. So I'm so glad I get to finally be here again. But what it's really teaching me is the fine art of slowing down and carving time out and giving myself permission to be at peace with where I am, to give myself permission to slow things down, to honestly recognize that my work that I offer is so much better when I'm not in that grind. And so it was a really beautiful insight that my energy worker that I'm working with was like, Jen, it's like you went 80 miles an hour all the time, and then you had to slow down to 30 miles an hour. And so when you go to 30 miles an hour, it feels like you're crawling through your life, right? I'm like, yes. And she's like, yep. She's like, but that doesn't mean that 80 miles an hour is better for you. I'm like, so true. So it was a really great insight that as we looked at how things were, right, stacking up, we're like, this is divinely guided, that you're required to slow down. And I can feel the difference for how I'm showing up in that space than the 80 miles per hour, pedal to the metal, hustle, grind. And so one of the words that I want to talk about today that I think is really powerful is permission. So we talked about, right? So lane changes, vulnerability, speaking truthfully and honestly, and then taking that time to really give yourself permission to step into where you need to be. And so, yeah, Deb's had great advice for womenpreneurs, right? Exactly. For all of us women that are out there and we're trying to do this work. And honestly, even, and sometimes more so, I think women in corporations as well. If you're working at a high level, and that's some of the women that I work with, these really high level women, this is very hard for them because they're at the top of their game. And so like they feel like everything's going to come undone if they're gone. And that is how I felt about jury duty and taking so much time and having this weird amount of time where I wasn't like, oh, right. But it took my own work to go, oh, I love it. Like, this is when like the universe is like, here you go. Here's some dollar bills that you're going to learn a lesson about. And I'm like, oh yeah, sure enough. And so this is my lesson that I want to share with all of you. This is true for all of us. We have to take time. Okay. And permission. And I feel like this is one of those skills that women in particular really sort of struggle with. And so give me a shout out if you do struggle to give yourself permission, because I feel like this is really something that's not uncommon for us, is saying to yourself, I give yourself permission to speak your truth. I give yourself permission to take time off. Give yourself permission to say, this isn't working for me. Give yourself permission, right? I was so guilty of taking, yes, right? Yeah. So Deb, when you say you were so guilty of taking time, did you mean you felt guilty when you took time off? I just want to check because I want to make sure I'm understanding what you're saying there, because I love that. Because I think that lots of women, I know I do, it's very hard to carve time out. I want you to give yourself permission. And one of the things that I think too, and I don't know if you relate to this, one of the things that I notice about women, and then we're going to have one more point, and then I swear to God, we're tying to purpose and we're off. But one of the things I think is really interesting is, one, giving yourself permission. And then two, honestly, for me, women apologize for everything. Are you an apologizer? And yes, taking time away from, your lane from work. Yeah. So important. So Deb, thank you so much for sharing that. That's what I want you to really understand is like, yep, it's just as important to do that as it is to be in the work. It's just as important to take time away as it is to actually be in the lane that you're working in. Okay. Sometimes that time away is the thing that tells you that the lane that you're in, something is amiss. So I want to talk about if you're an apologizer. I listen to women all the time. I'm in networking communities. I'm a coach. I'm in all sorts of places that I'm with women, really strong, beautiful, powerful women. And I will tell you, if I had a dollar bill for every time I heard a fucking woman apologize, I swear to you, I would be a gazillionaire. I'm not even joking. So often I hear women, oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And this is me. What y'all sorry about? Yo, What we're so conditioned. I mean, right? This is a piece of rewilding, right? If you were gonna come into the sanctuary, right, and we were gonna do some work together, some sacred work together, and I was gonna send you back off in the world. By God, one of the things that I hope that you lose is your incessant need to apologize. Okay. If you do or say something that's inappropriate, by all means, then say you're sorry. But I hear it. And what happens is when I'm hearing it, I know that it's actually a habit of speech. It isn't that a woman is actually saying, I'm sorry about something. She's just sorry because she's sorry about all the things. Sorry for being a woman. She's sorry for being powerful. She's sorry for having a voice. She's sorry you're having a bad day. You're having a bad day. She's sorry about that, this, that, and right. And always apologizing. Oh my God. Oh my God. We have got to stop apologizing that way, right? We don't need to be conditioned to just say sorry for sorry's sake. You don't need to be sorry for taking up space. You don't need to be sorry for having an opinion. You don't need to be sorry for standing in your strength and your power and your truth. You don't need to be sorry. Okay. Thanks, Deb. Deb's like, I agree. I really, truly, and it's disturbing to me. I'll be honest, as a coach, it disturbs me. As a woman, it disturbs me if I catch myself and I'm like, what are you doing? We don't need to apologize for every single thing. Okay. So give yourself permission to stop freaking apologizing. If it is something legit you're sorry for, my friend, by all means, accountability, we're taking accountability aside because that's not where I'm going. I'm just saying, watch yourself and understand, right, that kind of apologizing is habitual and it's conditioned. And ask yourself why you think you need to say you're sorry all the time. So if you were going to come into my little sanctuary to rewild yourself, this is what I want you to examine. What is it about your story in your life that you think you have to apologize for every day, every minute? I have friends that do this and I love them. This is not a diss. I pick it up. I have a mental tick and I'm not doing it to me, but I'm like, well, why are you even saying that? Right? Why are you even saying that? So I want you to examine those things, right? This is the kind of work that I love doing with women because it's the places where some of that conditioning and that yuckiness from old stories, belief systems, ideas, the way that we're taught in our culture, how we need to be a woman, that's where it seeps in. And all of a sudden, if I say, wait, what do you mean by sorry? What are you sorry about all the time? What'd you do? I want to be like, bitch, tell me what you did then. What are you sorry about, right? And all of a sudden, if somebody backs up and they go, oh, I just say that. Why? Why are you saying that? Why you say you're sorry? What are you sorry for? Right? And one thing I'm passionate about is sending every single one of my women that I work with off into the world, not sorry about taking up space, not sorry about being who you are, not sorry or apologetic about being powerful, about having a say, about claiming some space, about giving yourself permission, about taking the time. Those are things that I am excited about teaching women because it's some of the stuff that by the middle age of our lives, you just had this conversation. Yes, right? So this is the kind of stuff we want to be talking about. Take up space, patience. Patience is in the house. I know you feel me. We need to have permission to take up space. And so that's one of those things that's really, by the time we hit middle age, right? And I'm showing my age here, and that's okay because that's who I love to really work with. Is we've done all the stuff in our lives. Some of us, we've checked all the boxes, and we're kind of over it. We're at a stage of our lives. We've checked all the boxes. We did the things. Some of us raised children. My daughter's graduating next week. I've done all check, check, check. Right? And you feel me, and then you kind of go, I did all that. I did the stuff. I dug in. And now I'm kind of too old for this shit. I'm tired of being in the big boy game. I'm tired of beating myself to piss every single day or going to a job that doesn't satisfy me. I'm tired of staying quiet when I have something to say. One of the things I love about middle-aged women is, we are just tired of the bullshit. I'm serious. It's one of the things I actually really love about middle-aged women is it's almost like they're reborn. We hit a stage in our lives and we're like, we're so reborn. We're tired of it. I don't have to hold space for, honestly, and this is so true. You have to watch that you're holding vision for your vision, not somebody else's. Right? Really check yourself. Am I holding my vision for me or am I holding my vision for somebody else? And I have to check myself. And if I go, I'm holding somebody else's vision, time to rewire. Time to rewild, right? Time to step back into that space again. So I really want you to be putting your heads around this. It's like you get the opportunity to give yourself permission to really step into who you are and what you want to be. And middle age is such a beautiful time, but lots of times it's because we've checked all the boxes, we did all the things. And we're like, okay, I miss family time, and I'm sick of tired and feeling shitty when I wake up in the day, and I've got to go to a job that doesn't fulfill me, and I'm sick of feeling like I've hit this glass ceiling, and I'm sick and tired of doing the same things all the time and feeling drained. Right? When you're lacking vitality and you're lacking juice in your life, you know that something is wrong. And I have news for you, and I want to leave with this one because this is really important. If you have to ask yourself if this is it for your life, the answer is no. Is this it for my life? The answer is no. But if you have to ask it at this stage of your life, you do need to rewild. So if your question is this all that there is? The answer is no. I'm here to tell you. And then it's time to get in with someone to do some work around what that means. I love, love, love to get on calls with women and talk this through. It is one of the things that I love most in the world to do because I think it's so powerful. And so we need to step in and give ourselves permission to do all these things: lane changes, vulnerability, speaking honestly, taking time for yourself, permission, asking for help. Okay. And getting in a call, getting support, asking for help, period. You are the queen. Thank you, my friend. I love you. So last thing, tying this to purpose, right? So what I really love to do, because my jam is purpose. When we're out of sync in these things in our lives, we're not living fully. Thank you so much. Yeah. Truly, I want to say this. If you're not doing these things, if you're not stepping into your wild, if you're not giving yourself permission to do these things in midlife, you're missing the boat. Purpose is the very reason that most of us get out of bed every day, right? Early on today, I said 9 out of 10 people, Harvard Business Review, I would give up my higher paying work for more meaningful work. 90% of us, 90% would give up higher paying work for more meaningful work. I'm sorry, that's purposeful living. And that's what we're seeking. And we know that people are seriously so unhappy. And what happened also was that in the pandemic, people really had to stop. They had to slow down. This taking time, by the way, this is my iPad over here in case you're like, what the hell is she pointing at? It's where I put my notes before I come in live with you. They had to take time. And also they went, is this working? Ooh, I'm home a lot. My life, everything's slowed down. It's different than what it used to be. And I'm not happy doing that anymore. I don't want to go back to that anymore. I can't tell you how many people are literally in a totally different, whole different space from the pandemic because they were forced to slow down. They were forced to rewild. So when they went back, so many of my friends went, I went back to my corporate job and shit, I hate it. I forgot. First, I was stressed because there was a pandemic and I couldn't work. Then I was stressed because I had to go back and act like everything was exactly the same. It's not exactly the same. I'm not exactly the same, right? Pivotal time for all of us, right? We really, truly need to understand that your purpose, that meaning, is literally what's going to get you out of bed every day. Deb said, my adult children went through this process and now tweak their path. Exactly. And that's lane changes. How beautiful is that? That's what I love to see. And so many of us, in one way, shape, or form, everything got reworked. And we were in a rewilding process we didn't even plan for, right? Pivoted, exactly. And that's so powerful. So I just want to tie together that what you're talking about. So much of the time when you hear me talk, I'm going to be talking about alignment. Like in spades. Every single time you hear me speak, I'm going to be talking about alignment. When you're not in alignment, you're not serving your purpose, you're not doing something in the big scheme of life. So, right. So I've joked before that if you had a big puzzle, did anybody do puzzles during the pandemic? I did. And right. And it was like getting to the end and missing one piece. You were like, what the, right. And like, you're looking in the floor, you're looking in the box and you're like pissed off. Cause it's like one piece, right? One piece, but one piece affects the whole thing. If you're not in your purpose, you're impacting somebody else's. I want you to really think about this. So number one, you are meant in your divine right to be here doing your purpose. Absolutely 100%. I 100% believe that. And two, I want you to imagine when you're not doing it, somebody else is missing out on what you're supposed to be bringing. So if you're a parent out there, and even if you're not, if you have kids, you've been around kids, maybe you're in volunteer teams, you legitimately think about, it's almost like not giving your grandchildren, your children advice. You're like, yeah, so what I want you to do in life, Chloe, is go get good grades. I don't give her the tools on how to do it. I just tell her that she should do it. Right. And so I want you to imagine that it's like asking someone to go do something, right, without all the pieces. And so every single time we step into it, we're influencing somebody else's journey. And it's super that ripple idea, right? And I want you to really imagine that I want you to get fired up for yourself, absolutely first and foremost. But secondarily, I want you to understand purpose is so powerful because it's going to influence the other people that you're meant to influence in this lifetime. So if I was still sitting in my private practice, I wouldn't be influencing the people that I need to influence right now. Does it mean I wouldn't be doing good work? No, absolutely. It's good work. Therapy is great work, right? Deb went off and did her own business. She's been doing her own stuff. That was divinely guided for her. That's the kind of thing that I want you to imagine, is that what you're doing is moving your area and your sphere of influence from one spot to another. Because right now, it's sort of like the bag of tricks got used, right? And it doesn't mean you're obsolete. It doesn't mean it doesn't matter. But it's really like, okay, that's awesome. Now take this bag of tricks and move it here, because this population of people really needs it. At one point, mine was teens, and mine was people that had experienced trauma. I did 20 years of that, right? And that was where it was needed. And then it was like, okay, now it's needed somewhere else over here, right? And it was scary as the crap, but worth the risk. Deb, absolutely, right? So I love that she's in here, because like she is the ultimate expression of someone who shifted gears and changed lanes and came out in a wholly different place that was exactly where she needed to be. And her sphere of influence is now in a totally different realm. It's not totally different, I should say totally different, but it's in a different way. And it's expansive. That was what was needed. She was being called to do something in a different way. That's where this stuff, I'm a new person. I'm absolutely. And that's what I love, is the idea of rewilding means I go in, I do this work, and I come out and I'm different. I'm pretty different. I rewilded myself, right? I love that notion. So I just want to leave these ideas with all of you, because I think that they're really powerful steps into up leveled. Exactly, Deb. That's what I see the work that I'm really doing with women in my coaching is like, you're up leveling your jam. And you started here, you did check the boxes, right? But now it's time. And it's like, that your purpose is not being fulfilled in the same capacity. It isn't that you're not valued. It isn't that you aren't creating great things in your life. That's totally untrue. Is it the stuff that you need to be doing anymore? That's the change. And that's what I really want to call you into. So today, we're going to wrap up. I just want to offer you, I absolutely love getting in calls with people to talk about this. I do think that if you're feeling stuck and you're in this position and you're like really grappling and feeling like you're kind of dragging yourself out of bed every day and you're in that hamster wheel, or you've kind of hit the top of your game and you're feeling really stuck and you don't know what to do, please reach out to me and let's get on a call and talk about it. That is what I'm good at. It's what I love to do. And so it's really powerful to get on a call and chat about this and get you moving with some direction. Because I think sometimes that's what we need. It's like permission and asking for help. That's what that step is. It's really like, okay, I see that I'm feeling stuck and I want to do something different with my life. And so I'm going to take a risk. I'm going to be vulnerable. I'm going to reach out to Jen and be like, hey, can we do a call? I'd like to talk about what this means, what this looks like, where I'm at, and let me support you and give you some ideas about what could be different. What are some steps that you can start taking to feel in greater alignment, to be in line with that wild version of who you are without all the conditioning and all this shit. Thank you, Deb. You're so sweet. You're the best. And so I just want to invite you to do that. If that feels on your heart and you're like listening today and you're like nodding and nodding and nodding, and you're in that space where you really get what I'm saying and you're like, I need to do something like this for myself, please feel free to reach out. It's seriously, no cost, I promise. So fun to connect with people. And honestly, I'm always learning. So I love when you reach out, because when we do calls, I'm learning from you. So I really appreciate that, because what that does is that flows on to everyone else that I influence. So that's really important to me. It's part of that puzzle that I was talking about, right? So when you're brave and you're ready to rewild and you're like, I'll get in a call with you, no matter what, you're going to take something away, but I take something away. I'm super grateful for that time. You're educating me, because I love to be like in that sphere of women and where they're at and taking cues from you, because some other woman needs it too. right? So you make me a better coach and you make me a better woman, you make me a better friend and a better mom when you're willing to share your journey with me as well. So I want to invite you to do that. You can direct message me anytime. Hey, Jen, I'd love to do a call. I'll send you the link. We'll get you hooked up. Bam, bam, done it. Super easy. And let's get on that Rise for Purpose phone call because I'd love to do that for you. So anyway, my friends, so glad to be back doing a live with you today. It feels like it's been 25 days. I'm not even kidding. It's been such a weird and bumpy time because of vacation and then jury duty and all these things. So I'm really glad. It's just nice to be back and kind of in the swing of things. So by the way, let me ask you this. Please do like and follow, subscribe. Miss you, Deb. Oh my gosh, so glad to have you here today. What a divine blessing to have you in here. I love that. Please like, subscribe, follow, comment. I really appreciate that. And it gives this juice. And also, furthermore, please share it out. If you know a woman that's like, my friend was just at brunch this weekend talking about this, please do not hesitate to share that out to somebody who needs to hear this message. That's one of the things that we can really powerfully do for each other in our culture is really like, hey, here's some content that made sense to me. It hit me in the feels. I was really feeling this. Maybe you've been there and you know someone. And so please, even if it isn't for you, if you know somebody else is going through this step, I know how lonely that was. I would really like women to not feel lonely in this. And I would really like them to live into their purpose. And so please feel free to share this out and just click share, send it out, or tag a friend and be like, hey, this is something that might really apply to you. I know you've been talking about this. I have a lot of moms coming in that their kids are graduating. We're in this sort of different stage of life, right? So our time is going to become our own a little bit more again. And so that's right. So I get it. This mom syndrome as well that I'm kind of going through. I'm going through the same thing, right? So when you know someone is in those spaces, please feel free to pass this along and help them as well. This is something powerful that women can do for each other. And when we get a resource, when we get a supply of wisdom of some kind, that's really powerful to share it out with somebody, right? So please feel free to do that as well. I'm always really grateful for that. Thank you so much for coming in today and listening, for commenting, for engaging, being here. I love that. And I want to send you off with some blessings, love, and light for your week. Until next time. Next time I'll be back on Thursday. I was like, what's next week? I'll be here. I was like, just checking because there's a lot of stuff going on for graduation, but I will be here on Thursday. I'll be back in this time and place. Feel free to ask questions anytime, but otherwise, blessings, love, and light until next week. This is Jen supporting you on your rise, on your path to purpose. Take care, everybody.